Hello, welcome to Ekate's Crossing as we continue our journey of the secrets of Shambhala. Continuing with chapter 2 with the Siddartha Tarot. Let's see what message we have today with this chapter. And these three cards are popping out here. Let's put them together. Again, it's interesting because we have the Two of Pentacles. Again, we get the sense of juggling things. It feels like something's being juggled. We need to look at our priorities, what's important to this journey. It does feel like there's a lot of burdens, a lot of things weighing on, and we've got to push ourselves forward. It's a real commitment to be able to continue this journey even with the heavy burdens, the juggling whatever the directions that we're moving in, the things that are going on, maybe even within our own head, our own ideas. And then we know with the Ten of Cups that with meditation, with reflection, that everything sort of comes together. There is that sense of well-being. It feels like there's a sense of wholeness within ourselves emotionally. If we can just push through these struggles, these challenges that are being that we feel that's weighing on us at this time. Interesting spread. Okay, so let's take a minute to sort of breathe as we continue our journey of the Call of Shambhala. This is chapter 2. I lay down on the cot in my room and thought about what the Lama had told me. He had ended the conversation abruptly, waving off my remaining questions. Go and rest now, he had said, calling in several monks by ringing a loud bell. We will talk again tomorrow. Later, both Jumper and Yin had made me recount everything the Lama had said, but the truth was the Lama had left me with more questions than answers. I still did not know where Will had gone or what the Call of Shambhala really meant. It all sounded fanciful and dangerous. Yin and Jumper had refused to discuss any of these questions. We had spent the rest of the evening eating and looking out at the landscape before going to bed early. Now I found myself staring up at the ceiling, unable to sleep, thoughts whirling in my head. I replayed my whole experience in Tibet in my mind several times, and then finally drifted into a fitful sleep. I dreamed of running through the crowds of Lhasa, seeking sanctuary at one of the monasteries. The monks at the door took one look at me and shut the door. Soldiers pursued. I ran down dark lanes and alleyways without hope until at the end of one street I looked to my right and saw a lighted area similar to the ones I'd seen before. As I moved closer, the light gradually disappeared, but ahead of me was a gate. The soldiers were coming around the corner behind me, and I dashed through the gate and found myself in the icy landscape. I woke up with a start. Where was I? Slowly I recognized the room and got to my feet and walked to the window. Dawn was just breaking towards the east, and I tried to shake off the dreams and go back to bed, an idea that proved to be totally fruitless. I was wide awake. Pulling on a pair of pants and a jacket, I walked downstairs and outside to the courtyard by the vegetable gardens and sat down on an ornate metal bench. As I stared out towards the sunrise, I heard something behind me. Turning, I saw the figure of a man moving towards me from the monastery. It was Lama Rigdon. I stood up and he bowed deeply. You're up early, he said. I hope you slept well. Yes, I said, watching him as he walked forward and sprinkled a handful of grain in the fountain pond for the fish. The water swirled as they consumed the food. What were your dreams, he said without looking at me. I told him about the chase and seeing the lighted area. He looked at me in amazement. Have you had this experience in your waking life as well, he asked. Several times on this trip, I said, Lama, what is going on? He smiled and sat on a bench opposite me. You're being helped by the Dakini. I don't understand. What are the Dakini? Wool left Yin a note in which he referred to the Dakini, but I've never heard of them before. They are from the spiritual world. They usually appear as females, but they can take any form they wish. In the West they are known as angels, but they are even more mysterious than most think. I'm afraid they are truly known only by those in Shambhala. The legends say they move with the light of Shambhala. He paused and looked at me deeply. Have you decided whether to answer this call? I wouldn't know how to proceed, I said. The legends will guide you. They say that the time for Shambhala to be known will be recognized, because many people will begin to understand how those in Shambhala live. The truth behind the prayer energy. Prayer is not a power that is realized only when we sit down and decide to pray prayer in a particular situation. Prayer works at those times, of course, but prayer is also working at other times. You're talking about a constant prayer field. Yes, everything we expect, good or bad, conscious or unconscious, we are helping to bring into being. Our prayer is an energy or power that emanates out from us in all directions. In most people, you think in ordinary ways. This power is very weak and contradictory, but in others who seem to achieve a lot in life and who are very creative and successful, this field of energy is strong, although it is still usually unconscious. Most of those in this group have a strong field because they grew up in an environment where they learned to expect success and more or less take it for granted. They had strong role models whom they emulated, but the legends say that soon all people will learn about this power and understand that our ability to use this energy can be strengthened and extended. I've told you this to explain how to answer the call of Shambhala. To find this holy place, you must systematically extend your energy until you emanate enough creative strength to go there. The procedure for doing this is set forth in the legends and involves 3 important steps. There is also a 4th step, but is known in its completeness only to those in Shambhala. That is why finding Shambhala is so difficult. Even if one successfully extends one's energy through the first 3 steps, one must have help in order to actually find the way to Shambhala. The Dakini must open the gateway. You've called the Dakini spiritual beings. Do you mean souls that are in the afterlife who are acting as guides for us? No. The Dakini are other beings who act to awaken and guard humans. They are not and never were humans. And they are the same as angels? The Lama smiled. They are what they are. One reality. Each religion has a different name for them, just as each religion has a different way of describing God, and how humans should live. But in every religion, the experience of God, the energy of love, is exactly the same. Each religion has its own history of this relationship and way of speaking about it, but there is only one divine source. It is the same with angels. So you aren't strictly Buddhist? Our sect and the legends we hold have their roots in Buddhism, but we stand for the synthesis of all religions. We believe each has its truth that must be incorporated with all the others. It is possible to do this without losing the sovereignty or basic truth of one's own traditional way. I would also call myself a Christian, for instance, and a Jew or a Muslim. We believe those in Shambhala also work for an integration of all religious truth. They work for this in the same spirit that the Dalai Lama makes at the Kala Chakra initiations, known to anyone who has a sincere heart. I just looked at him, trying to take it all in. Don't try to understand everything now, the Lama said. Just know that the integration of all religious truth is important if the force of prayer energy is to grow large enough to resolve the dangers posed by those who fear. Also remember that the Dakini are real. What makes them act to help us, I asked. The Lama took a deep breath. Thinking deeply, the question seemed to be a point of frustration for him. I have worked my whole life to understand this question, he said finally, but I must admit that I do not know. I think that it is the great secret of Shambhala, and will not be understood until Shambhala is understood. But you think I interjected that the Dakinis are helping me? Yes, he said firmly, and your friend Will. What about Yin? How does he figure in all this? Yin met your friend Will at this monastery. Yin has also dreamed of you, but in a different context from myself or the other lamas. Yin was educated in England and is very familiar with Western ways. He is to be your guide, although he is very reluctant, as you have no doubt seen. This is only because he does not want to let anyone down. He will be your guide and take you as far as he can. He paused again and looked at me expectantly. And what about the Chinese government, I asked. What are they doing? Why are they so interested in what is happening? The Lama lowered his eyes. I do not know. They seem to sense that something is happening with Shambhala. They've always tried to suppress Tibetan spirituality, but now they seem to have discovered our sect. You must be very careful. They fear us greatly. I looked away for a moment, still thinking about the Chinese. Have you decided? He asked. You mean whether to go? He smiled compassionately. Yes. I don't know. I'm not sure I have the courage to risk losing everything. The Lama just kept looking at me and nodded. You said some things about the challenge of my generation, I said. I still don't understand this. World War II, as well as the Cold War, the Lama began, was the previous generation's challenge to face. The great advances in technology have placed massive weapons in the hands of nations. In the nationalistic fever, the forces of totalitarianism were attempting to conquer the democratic countries. This threat would have prevailed had not ordinary citizens fought and died in defence of freedom, ensuring the success of democracy in the world. But your task is different from that of your parents. The mission of your generation is different in its very nature from that of the World War II generation. They had to fight a particular tyranny with violence and arms. You must fight against the concepts of war and enemies altogether. But it takes just as much heroism. Do you understand? There was no way your parents could have done what they did, but they persevered. So must you. The forces of totalitarianism have not gone away. They are just not expressing themselves any longer through nations seeking empire. The forces of tyranny now are international and much more subtle, taking advantage of our dependence on technology and credit and a desire for convenience. Out of fear, they seek to centralize all technological growth into the hands of a few, so that their economic positions can be safeguarded and the future evolution of the world controlled. Opposing them with force is impossible. Democracy must be guarded now with the next step in freedom's evolution. We must use the power of our vision and the expectations that flow out from us as a constant prayer. This power is stronger than anyone now knows, and we must master it and begin to use it before it is too late. There are signs that something is changing in Shambhala. It is opening, shifting. The Lama was looking at me with steely determination. You must answer the call to Shambhala. It is the only way to honour what your forefathers have done before you. His comments filled me with anxiety. What do I do first? I asked. Complete the extensions of your energy, the Lama replied. This will not be easy for you because of your fear and anger, but if you persist, the gateway will present itself to you. The gateway? Yes, our legends say that there are several gateways into Shambhala. One in the eastern Himalayas in India, one to the northwest on the border of China, and one in the far north in Russia. The signs will guide you to the right one. When all seems lost, look for the Dakini. As the Lama was talking, Yin walked outside with our packs. Okay, I said, feeling increasingly terrified. I'll try. Even as I spoke, I couldn't believe the words were coming from my mouth. Don't worry, Lama Rigdon said. Yin will help you. Just remember that before you find Shambhala, you must first extend the level of energy that emanates from you and goes out into the world. You can't have success until you do. You must master the force of your expectations. I looked at Yin and he half smiled. It's time, he said. Okay, that's it for today. Don't forget to check the links down below. Check the links from my channel. So you don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. Take care and blessed be.